opportunities and ideas. That's what we're going to be hitting in our last section here. I think this would be a great part for you, our panelists, to share examples of taking outdoor teaching beyond the school gates. All right. So we're going to jump into Stephen and Tim. You guys can wrestle this one out together, if you will. What are examples? What examples do you have for going beyond the fixed outdoor teaching space? And what benefits does that bring to children's learning?
Well, I've got a lovely little example in Madrid. We've got this lovely school, Santa Isabel School. Jem Pro's the head, and it's a very vertical school. So it's bounded on both sides by shops and buildings. The front door opens onto the street. The only play space is right up on the roof on the 8th floor. So the kind of question is, how do you give those kids, an outdoor experience when there is no outdoor in the school at all? And the answer has been absolutely gorgeous. So they've crafted what they call learning journeys, and the learning journeys are all around the centre of Madrid. So they've gone from being a little school with a tiny footprint to having this wonderful campus, which is the middle of Madrid. So how have they done it? Well, they've done it in three ways. First of all, teachers have worked out what those learning journeys might be. They've all got a curriculum focus. There's a huge chart up in the foyer, maps them all out. The colours from those come right back into the school. So if you've been on the art journey, it leads you right back to the art room and so on. At the end of each journey are parents or the local community, and they're saying, let's show you what we do in the Danish embassy. Let's show you what we do making pasta. Let's show you what we do with furniture making. But on the way, there's a whole lot of little activities and little moments. And when you see these tiny kids, walking right through the middle of Madrid, walking in twos, they would look after each other. And then you realize that looking out of the windows, in the front door, in the shop foyers, there's somebody looking after them. So the eyes of Madrid are on these kids as they walk around the middle. One of the journeys, they arrive at a jazz workshop. So there's a bunch of pretty keen little jazz musicians, and they play some pretty good music. The kids adore it. So they say, we'll put on a concert in the middle of town. So that little jazz combo, you're suddenly in the middle of town, the kids arrive, sit all around, and of course people gather around them. And what's exciting about all this is the community are now part of the whole thing. It's gone from being a place with a place for learning to a place of learning. The whole community is now all over learning. One of my joys at the first couple of months this had been going was arriving on a Saturday, find the kids all lined up outside the school with their clipboards, taking their parents on the learning journey, because let's show you what we've learned on the way. And I think if you look, what's happened here is all the walls around learning have got softer and lower.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Dr. Tim, what are your thoughts on this?
I wish I had some stories to tell like that one. What it really highlights to me is a real opportunity with outdoor learning, which is that it's a chance to help children to learn about the process of learning, actually in the world. We sort of talk about attention and trying to maintain it, and in a classroom where a teacher is delivering content, there's a natural focus for that attention, and distraction can be very controlled. Out in the real world, that's very much not the case. Distraction is happening all around, and a core skill for life is actually learning to manage distraction, to focus attention, and there's an opportunity there, I think, to use this kind of learning as a way to help people to understand why that's important, help people to understand what kind of techniques they can use to do that. We know when attention is divided that learning is normally impaired. So you will get compromised education from divided attention. So actually, helping the kids to understand that and to reflect on the process of actively learning in the environment rather than sort of passively learning in a classroom can be very different, I think, and I think there's a real opportunity there to bring that out.
There's a multiplier. I've put PhD students into communities where we've given the kids a lot of technology for their learning, and their learning spilling out all over the place. And we were worried, are we building a barrier between, parents who maybe in the context of the example didn't have great education, didn't have great technology skills. Suddenly, here comes your daughter connected to the world full of, hey, mum, let's talk about quantum physics. I mean, were we building a barrier there? Exactly the opposite was what was happening. The children's delight in their learning was caught by, infected the parents who said, when the kids went to bed, here, I'm having some of that. They kind of picked up the technology. Technology is a key enabler in all this. Technology has made the difference. Technology isn't just a screen you sit in front of in the classroom. It's stuff in your pockets you take with you, Internet of the Things, stuff that's on your wrist. All of that is a multiplier. And it turned out the parents went faster because the kids were loving their learning. And by the way, talking about it when they got home. And the kids went faster because their parents were doing so. Everybody gained. And that, why wouldn't we want some of that?
Yeah.
And the only way you get that is by putting learning into the community as well as in the little boxes we built.
Beautiful. That's it. And the great thing about that, putting the learning into community, and the example that you shared is the partnership. We always talk about, we want community partnerships. We want to connect. That's how that can happen. Having those community partnerships, I'm sure, are all throughout the city of Madrid. They're all looking out for the kids. They're all being aware of them. It's not just the teacher there, but the whole community is aware of who they are, what they're doing, and it makes it such a more enriching experience for them in many ways. Catriona, I wanted to jump over to something that you're familiar with, makerspace shipping containers. Makerspace shipping containers. Can you talk us through what that concept is and the benefits on the children's opportunities?
Sure, yeah, actually, it does relate back to this idea of the community being involved in the projects. So where we're learning at Real School, it's a project-based learning environment. And we acquired a shipping container, like one of these like empty spaces, vessels that we were allowed to put near the school, which theoretically could be an extension of the learning. And at the moment, it's still in process. It's like a big empty box. And so, there was loads of excited adults, me included, being like, oh, what are we going to put in here? How are we going to make this such an amazing space for the learners? And then I think it was our founder said, well, have we asked the founders, or have we asked the students? Have we asked the learners, like, are they involved in the process? So we were doing a project that already focused on biomimicry, and now we're basically trying to focus the question back to how can biomimicry support us with a problem in the learning environment or a challenge that we might need to solve. And one of those things is this makerspace. So the idea of the community coming in is we would get local artists, local designers, local people within the community who have a skill that will give that to the students. So theoretically, in the future, it will have lots of resources that are available for the students to make and really create a solid and decent product with the support and the help of a local artist or designer or somebody who has a skill set within that avenue that they're working in. So I think as a primary teacher, we also have this idea of, we have to be able to teach everything. And actually, we could completely expand our network if we were able to link in with people in our community to come on in and actually, could you share this skill with the kids? And then we have learning exhibitions at the end of our sort of 6 or 7 week cycle. And then we would invite those people back so that they could see the process, like, how do you think that the student is actually like done with this, and like what could they improve, and the review process is also really important to discuss with the learners. Like, I love what you've done with this, I really like how you've taken this idea and you've made this is something that we could improve together. And parents are involved in that review process, educators are involved with that. So the dialogue is super important, but the people from the community are the most sort of the heart piece of that.
Definitely. I love that connection again with the community, bringing them in, making a part of it. What ideas do they have? and the kids look up to them. They can look up to seeing like, look, this is a viable career, a viable person who can really connect with us. That's wonderful. James, I'm curious with you, with your expertise in the development of furniture and resources, what are those opportunities that can happen through that lens?
Well, I mean, there's an enormous focus clearly at the moment on well-being as well, and one of the things that is clear to us is the use of the outdoors is a fantastic enabler, if you like, of the creation of well-being spaces. So we're looking at sensory spaces, we're looking at sensory gardens, we're looking at sensory gardens linked to well-being rooms. Latest issue of our Create magazine, we went and talked to Maggie's, who is a cancer charity here in the UK, and they use the outdoor spaces. They build centres in hospitals where the outdoor spaces are as an intrinsic a space for curative and relaxation as the indoor spaces are. And so we talked to them and we said, they absolutely feel that environments affect how you feel, how you respond to these things. And a combination of that, Stephen and I have been working on planting, the types of planting that we use. There's a fantastic here in the UK. There's a website from the Horticultural Traders Association, which actually tells you the toxicity of plants, because we're very aware that clearly there are things that there are there's plants that have specific values to us. Lavender, rosemary, etc. A lot of the herbs will have sensory things, but there's also sound. There's all sorts of different stimuli, if you like. With those spaces, but we need to be safe. But we also need to think sometimes about mechanical injury or the potential of mechanical injury. We did actually on our list of plants that we tend to put into schools, into indoor spaces. We did include aloe vera, but it was one of those that we sort of sat there because they have very sharp. The ends of an aloe vera are very sharp, and so you just need to be aware of those things. But that comes back to the risk taking. It comes back to actually, should we not be teaching children or giving them opportunities to understand? As long as it's managed, these things are fine and dandy. And Gary Spracklin, who's a head teacher down in a lovely school down in Dorset, absolutely will always sit there and say that the outside is as important as the inside. He uses a landscape resource rather than actually an equipment-based environment. And so is again creating those spaces, using there's wonderful messages, isn't there, from Catriona's reuse of a 40-foot shipping container, which has a big environmental impact on it. All of these things just seem to me so intertwined that in many respects we're just sat there just looking for those next opportunities. Trust me, you go down to Gary's school, you won't only see a shipping container, but you'll see a boat, you'll see a teepee, you'll see other types of spaces. I think there's 2 yachts down there, in fact, that he's used as old pieces of equipment that have reached the end of their life. We're doing a big project in Singapore at the moment with Dulwich College. And again, we're looking at one of those floors, we're looking very specifically at how we reuse materials and upcycle materials. And so we've got so much embedded learning into that, and I don't know, just the opportunities to me just are enormous.
There's so many opportunities. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Well, hey gang, I want to thank you guys for your thoughts on future opportunities and the ideas for our listeners to take away. And I really can't believe that we reached the end of today's discussion. I want to say a big thank you to our viewers for joining us for this TTS Talking webinar and outdoor learning environments. We hope that you had found this session extremely valuable and inspiring, and that you have some insightful pieces of information to take away and put into practice. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to our wonderful panel, Professor Stephen Heppell, Dr. Tim Holmes, Catriona Woodward, and James Clarke. We thank you for your valuable insights, your guidance on this specific topic. For more information on this topic, head over to TTS World of Education Content Hub, liked on the screen below. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care.